Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Kramer. I'm one of the global strategy leads for Google Cloud, and I wanted to welcome you to our Marketers in Conversation panel. Y'all can come up. So today you'll have the opportunity to hear from real marketers across a variety of industries and ranging from brand to performance and focus. Hopefully by the end of the hour, you'll be inspired by their stories for how you can use Google Cloud to do three things: measure better across channels, predict business outcomes, and identify and engage the right customers. Before I introduce our panel, I'd love to get a sense for who we have here in the room. How many of you are marketers yourselves? Okay, see some hands. How many of you are data scientists or work in analytics? About even with the marketers. And what about IT folks who are supporting marketing departments? Okay, another few hands. Partners? Some partners in the room. And agencies. Okay. So like our audience, our panel is quite diverse. I'd like to introduce them, starting here with Tim Raglan, who's a director at Zulily of Marketing Analytics. And next to Tim, we have Courtney Blacker. Courtney is the head of brand for Google Cloud. Straight off the main stage, which hopefully you all saw the keynote this morning, we have Miguel Campo, who's an SVP of Analytics at 20th Century Fox. And last but not least, we have Rich Robinson, who is the SVP of Digital at World Surf League. So let me kick off by asking you this. Why is technology relevant to us as marketers? Rich, maybe you can start us off.
Sure. For us, a little nervous, sorry. The biggest thing for us, I think, in trying to kind of craft our way into Google Cloud Platform was the ability to build common tools across departments. Oftentimes, the marketing department will kind of take a run at building a user pool or build insights that they can use to drive their campaigns, while a product team will head the other direction and start to kind of collect user data as part of their product experience. What's been nice for us is being able to kind of centralize that into one data set so that the marketing efforts that are trying to drive people in the door wind up being driven off the same data that's being used to deliver the experience once they walked in the door.
And Rich, just for those of you who are not familiar with World Surf League, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what World Surf League is all about and your role as well.
Yeah, so we are a live broadcast events company. We run professional surfing competitions around the world. We distribute those direct to consumer over our apps and website. And what makes it a challenge for us in comparison to a lot of the other sports is that we are heavily condition dependent. So we only run when the waves are there, which means in our case, if you imagine the head of marketing for the NFL not knowing whether the game was going to actually be on that day 15 minutes before the coin flip. So a lot of the tools that we build are we try to tailor them towards kind of ad hoc scenarios where we're looking to kind of open the floodgates and invite the right people in at the right times based on who's in the water, whether we're running or not, and what story is developing.
And Courtney, I know you also have some experience in the world of sports, so perhaps you can go next. Why do you think that cloud technology is relevant for marketers?
Well, nice to meet everybody. As Michelle said, I'm head of brand for Google Cloud. Prior to joining Google about a little over a year ago, I led brand for outdoor brands, the North Face most recently, and prior to that, JanSport for VF Corporation. So relate a lot to both what I do now in terms of data, but thinking back to previous worlds, weather is such a high variable, much like in surfing, in the outdoor industry. There's a direct correlation between when the first snowfall would drop in the Northeast to whether or not we would make our year with our jacket sales for the fourth quarter with holiday and the precipitous weather drop. So thinking about this in both my previous world, how we could harvest that data to help be more custom to our customers, tell stories in geolocated areas using Google Maps potentially as well to create more rich stories at the brand level, I think is just an untapped opportunity for retailers such as the North Face or JanSport. In my current role, in terms of relevancy, it's everything. I lead brand for Google Cloud. As you've heard mentioned a couple times on the main stage, we launched our big brand advertising campaign to drive awareness and connection to Google Cloud through the NCAA. The NCAA has just troves and troves of data. We challenge ourselves to tell a story with data to really delight and engage our potential customers out there in the world. So as I think about what my role is today, it comes down to everything. We challenge ourselves to use our products to create a demonstration that can truly engage and create this brand.
And what about from the performance side of the house? Tim, how do you think about the role of cloud technology for marketers?
Again, I'll piggyback onto that answer and say it's everything. So if you're not familiar with Zulily, we're a fun and discovery shopping website. We launch 9,000 unique SKUs, over 100 curated events that last for 72 hours. It's an incredible amount of data. We have 6.1 million active customers. We've grown our revenue 17% year over year. So we're sending out hundreds of ads, ad units a day. We are dealing with millions of impressions and a lot of customer interactions on site. So to have that sheer amount of data, we need to have a platform that can support that. We have this bias to build at Zulily, and Google Cloud has been integral in the technologies and data sets we build on top of that. So I'm going to lean into this concept. It might get tired by the time I get off the mic, but this concept of data democracy, right? Data belongs to everybody. We have specialists that are a few years out of college using BigQuery, using Tableau dashboards that we've visualized, all on this Google Cloud platform, right? And I kind of put it in terms of this. We even have PR people running queries, which to me is pretty amazing. It's kind of unlike any other retailer I've been at. I was running the stats, and it was this phenomenal one that 25% of our users are actually pulling queries. And then I'm talking about of the Zulily workforce. So it's pretty amazing.
And Miguel, how many folks saw the keynote this morning and saw Miguel's demo? Okay. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about you for those of us who didn't get a chance to see you out there this morning as well, and what your take is on cloud's relevancy for marketing.
Absolutely, and thanks, Michelle, for inviting me to the panel. So I lead data science at 20th Century Fox, so that's mostly movies in the different distribution windows and so theatrical, home entertainment. And we are a data science team that sits directly in the media team, which is a rarity. It's very odd, but it's great because we use a lot of our media muscle to actually buy data. And we've spent the last couple of years building partnerships to bring data and building tools, and we're going to talk about that during the next hour. But just in terms of the question that you asked, for us is speed, absolutely. The main reason we are in the Google Cloud is speed, because if you read the papers, you know that the movie industry is in the midst of a transformation. And I'm pretty sure that the marketing media processes that we have in place today are not the ones that we are going to see in 1 or 2 years. And we have hints of what the new processes are going to look like, but we don't quite know for sure. So my job is to do a lot of experimentation, like try things and see what works and see what doesn't work. And if we had to do that without Google Cloud, I don't know how we could do that, because there would be a lot of heavy lifting, because obviously all the experiments involve a component of data and technology and machine learning. So that's my key.
And Miguel, you were a part of the announcement this morning of the launch of BigQuery ML, so putting machine learning in the hands of the data analyst. Tell me a little bit about how that impacts speed, as you mentioned, and what you're seeing as the role of those two groups going forward.
So that's a good question. So to answer that, so you guys need to understand that there is going to be always a machine learning pipeline somewhere that it's a very hairy monster that you don't want to touch much, right? Because it's very brittle. Even with the latest models, you don't want to touch your pipeline a lot. But our business is about bringing new movies to the market. And every time that we move a new movie to the market, we need to rerun our models, not once, but multiple times, because the conditions change or the questions change, which is mostly the case. So for us, what BQML brought to the table was the ability to answer the questions that the business was asking without necessarily touching our ML pipeline. Maybe what we do is we create a BQML model that maybe it's not as advanced, but maybe it's enough. And if it's not enough, then we will know and we will build another model. But if it's enough, then that becomes the kind of like the model that we will use to answer a question that is urgent. So that's one of the main points. And then the other point, it's obviously, the efficient use of labor, because you have people that know how to write SQL queries, and the more people you give access to the data, the more you're going to be able to experiment with your data. So that for us is very important too.
I know this is a passion of yours, Tim, of democratizing data. Would love to hear a little bit more how you're doing that at Zulily.
Honestly, I'm very excited about the launch as well. I think about the analysts, some of the more senior level analysts on my team, and they want to get into this space, but sometimes the barriers are so high. So to have a tool where you're getting into these regressive techniques, these more machine learning techniques that they have at their fingertips actually is really exciting. I swear it's the question I get the most. Hey, can I do a data science project? How would I try to get into that? So to have a tool and have actually the availability, and again, like the democracy of the data or of the modeling in front of my analyst fingertips is everything. I truly believe in 4 or 5 years, there'll always be a spot for quantitative analytics, of course, as we're measuring campaigns in the marketing space. But I think any analyst has to have that in their toolkit. I think in the next few years, I think it's going to be an attractive thing out in the market.
And it sounds a lot like there's a lot of people within your organizations that are excited about what you're doing in the marketing, data, and analytics space. What are you personally most excited about? What projects are you working on that you're really proud of within your companies?
So I'll start with that one. So for us, the kind of like the big project that we're working on is this idea that we kind of need to better understand, or more precisely understand, what type of movies that we're trying to make. And we need to understand that, and we need to try to measure that after we make a movie. We need to see whether that's the movie that we really wanted to make. And making a movie is difficult because it's a very long process. So what we are doing is introducing measurement points in that process, and those measurement points are providing evidence that are telling us this is the direction that this movie is going. This is the type of movie that you are making. So to do that, we are building a bunch of models that are based on deep learning, and also on some of the tools that we have that Google has made available to us to be able to match the media data with our first-party data. Those are the projects that we are most excited about.
Miguel, when we met, you were telling me a little bit about, in the movie business, how the evolution of trailers and the evaluation of trailers for public consumption used to happen. Can you tell us a little bit about the sort of organizational changes that are being made within Fox as this data becomes available, and just how a television company is becoming a data and analytics company?
Yeah, and I think within Fox and with other studios for sure, and any other brand that it's now introducing ML in the decision-making process, I think that kind of like, to me, the metaphor is the difference between theoretical physics and experimental physics, because we've spent many years on the studio side doing theoretical physics. like building theories about why things work and things don't work. And what the tools are giving us is the ability to move from that to a place where our job becomes to write down hypotheses and test them, and then maybe build theories around that. And that's an entirely different game, because now we need to be more precise about what are the hypotheses that we want to test. So we need to make very strong assumptions in terms of what are the things that we want to measure. And also we become more accountable from an organizational standpoint, because now we know exactly what we are trying to measure.
Sounds like people are now bringing data to the table that just wasn't available to have those creative conversations in the past. Courtney, maybe you can talk a little bit about creative and how that relates to the use of data. Sounds like you were kind of on the forefront of that with the NCAA campaign.
Absolutely. You know, being in brand, which is kind of our role is to start a conversation, engage people with our story, make them feel something, and connect to the brand. That obviously fuels the rest of the purchase funnel. So coming into Google, we recognize the opportunity to delight with data, which I think is a different way of looking at data through a prism. How can we uncover a story within a customer of ours, the NCAA, and turn that into salient brand storytelling for both the NCAA and Google Cloud? You know, we worked with an amazing creative partner, an agency here in San Francisco, that came to us. We challenged them. How do we tell a story using data? The NCAA is sitting on 80 years of data that is essentially unmined right now. How can we turn that into something that's meaningful and relevant to start that conversation about our brand to a large audience? We took on the challenge to create real-time advertising. So working with Google engineers internally, we built an algorithm that could predict outcomes of certain events during the championship games, the semifinals and the championship games, and then we turned those predictions into ads within 10 minutes. This is creativity at its forefront in terms of being data-driven. And what I see as the opportunity, not just for Google Cloud, but for anybody really here in the audience, is what is your data telling you? Is there a story there that can really delight your customers and engage them at that brand level, that gives them that emotional connection that makes them care about what you're doing as a brand, which I think is the essence of marketing and brand building.
And you mentioned working with your agency. At Google, we really think about agencies and partners as being a critical part of the digital transformation that we are trying to accomplish for marketers. And I'm wondering if other folks, maybe Rich, you can speak to the role of your partner in all the things that you've been doing at World Surf League.
Sure. Yeah. We grew pretty organically in Google Cloud. It wasn't the kind of thing where it was kind of a bunch of legacy systems that we had to evaluate migrating to, and we really began our work with some partners, analytics pros, my guys over there, on the GA premium side of things. And it was a process that started off from very basic page level tracking, user engagement, building out video metrics that we needed to be able to kind of monitor the kind of conversions we were looking for. Where it really kind of wound up going to the next level was around the BQ work. So being able to take from stakeholders in the company and understanding that we needed to start heading in directions that got into personalization or got into more sophisticated ways to take engagement that we were seeing on social, off-platform, and start to connect our funnel in a more seamless way, became a really great project that we could take to analytics pros. We're a very small team. I think you probably hear that from everyone who talks up here. I've heard it the last 24 hours 5 times. And it's a situation where we're able to kind of tap into scale that we would never have in-house. Talent we would not be able to build in-house in a time frame that would meet our needs. But it's also an opportunity for us to learn along the way. And so we're able to kind of collaborate with those folks, pick up in-house skills that they can pass back to us that we can then take with and run. And that's been really powerful for us.
Now, external partners is only a part of how you make something like this come together, but change is hard organizationally, internally as well. Can you give us some advice for how to best work across the organization, from product to marketing, to IT, to bring about some of the projects that you've been talking about?
Yeah, I can take that one. At Zulily, we have an incredible partnership with tech. I go back to it. We have a bias to build. There we have a lot of homegrown solutions. We have marketing technology platforms that are built in-house, and quite honestly, that wouldn't have been built with that partnership. It's a democratic tech prioritization process, although sometimes the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, as we all know. But it's kind of putting everything on the level playing field here. Actually, I believe the director of data science and machine learning of Zulily is here in the audience. He's been a wonderful partner to us building out these solutions at Zulily that have kind of allowed us for that rapid customer growth. So, the cloud platform obviously allows for this, but it is about building that relationship, kind of focusing on KPIs. I think in marketing, we tend to be the advocate of the customer, right? We're listening to her. She's giving us free-form text. She's giving us signals. We have to tie that back to the customer experience and the metrics that tech should be going after. And that's not limited to marketing. That's what happens in merchandising. It's what happens in operations at our team. So it's about kind of building that influencing and kind of rallying the troops. So.
I'll chip in there. One of the biggest things for us this year, and it sounds simple, but was distributing company-wide KPI dashboards. So we have some data studio sheets that we've sent around to all departments that are leveraging that common data set in BQ. And that has led to conversations that typically would start to veer off into different departmental goals, coming right back to those common ones. And we're able to kind of really lean on those dashboards. I don't think it's appreciated by the folks who use it how live that data is. I think they would have been fine getting a PDF in their inbox, which kills me. But I'm excited to be able to kind of put that in front of them, and it does change the conversation. People start to understand that they're all swimming in the same direction and that their goals are common. So that's been a big thing for us.
I think I can add here, kind of bespoke to the campaign that we launched, we had to collect people from across the entire organization and really sell them on our vision of what we wanted to do, and that Google Cloud having not done something on such a large platform and this real-time advertising had never been done before either, we had to evangelize our vision, and that brought in people from engineering, marketers within the marketing team, as well as basketball and sports experts from an external standpoint. So engineers and marketers, especially at the creative level, often have different goals, and finding common ground and creating language that we could all kind of steer and lean into for how we would get to the final moment when we would render these ads real time and put them on air. There's a lot of trial and tribulations and almost learning languages on my side, the more linear engineering process on the engineer side, that sometimes it's not science and creativity is subjective, and understanding that sometimes the meter or the metric is it fun? Is it going to make somebody smile? Which isn't necessarily fact-based. So it was quite a journey, really excited, but I think when we all did it, we felt we had accomplished something big, and it sets us up for even better success and a bar that has now raised to do something even more incredible, and that has not yet been done before next year.
For us, I mentioned speed before. For us, what is working is sort of having these two different speeds. We have sort of like a team that does like skunk works on the cloud, like that build things very fast, prototypes, so that we can see if things work or don't work. And then we have a partnership, obviously, with our technology team to, once we know that something works, we actually build the actual product so that we can have real-time insights that surface, in the devices of the stakeholders.
Miguel, you were just at Google spending a month at our Advanced Solution Lab. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what you learned being there?
Absolutely. So Advanced Solutions Lab is a one-month in-residence program at Sunnyvale. And some folks in my team and I, we just spent there one month, the month of June. It's a training program on TensorFlow. So I'll tell you my two reactions, like the first or the second day of the training. The first reaction was, oh my, I thought I knew TensorFlow, and I realized I don't, just because of the level that you see there. The other reaction that I had was, this is really complex. How are brands going to deal with this? How are they going to get deep into deep learning and TensorFlow with this level of complexity? And I've been thinking, since we did the training, that there is probably going to be like a chasm, a separation between brands that have it and brands that don't have it. Brands that invest purposefully in actually learning the technology, and brands that don't. And I think we're going to see that cut across all the industries in ways that we probably don't anticipate how. And I think that's going to create changes in the status quo in many industries. So bottom line, it's a great program if you want to kind of leapfrog your competition. It's an amazing investment, and it surfaces the amazing level of complexity that there is in the creation of these models.
Thanks, Miguel. So I want to be a little provocative here because everyone sees you up on stage. They want to know how they can be there next year, right? And they hear machine learning, and they get really excited. But for a lot of brands and a lot of marketers, machine learning is a challenging place to start because they don't have their data even all in one place together. Rich, I know we've talked about this before and kind of how you think about the promise of machine learning versus how to get started. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and maybe we can get a little disagreement going on that.
Yeah, I mean, in our case, and probably others in the room have felt this, you'll get the kind of very general ask of I've heard about machine learning or AI used very generically. They're like, we need to personalize our experience. We need to deliver the experience to the person that they want, and it stays in this very abstract space. And the practical application of it winds up being much more narrowly focused on very small individual improvements that you're making. What was humbling to us was trying to figure out how to kind of bridge those two gaps, and in the process realizing how important data consolidation and a lot of foundational work was to even getting to the point where you could start talking about ways in which ML might be applied. So I don't know. I guess having sort of started from scratch and worked our way into it, we're appreciative of where we've gotten, and we're appreciative of hearing these kind of deeper stories of where Miguel's been able to kind of follow through on the swing and really get the biggest benefit out of it. But I'm humbled by how many of the prerequisites you kind of have to have in place first.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I think it's this concept of incremental wins, right, for the organization. At the core of Zulily, personalization is everything. You're going to get a different site, then you're going to get a different site that you're going to see, right? We get a personalized sort on our events, and that's learning every day. So that's been running for years on our site. But there's more we can do in marketing, right? Now that we've kind of created this self-service environment, this really kind of stable data structure, it's actually allowed us to lean into things like predictive customer lifetime value modeling. We can observe what the customer is telling us in the first few days, what the high value action is, and actually use that to predict lifetime value. And we've actually been very accurate on those projections, and it's something that now we can, okay, that's one step, that's one incremental win. We can understand our return on ad spend, which is the core of anything we do as marketers, but then we can take it that next step and say, who's actually going to be a high-value customer, who's going to be a low-value customer, and then what are the personalized marketing vehicles we give to them now that we know that information? I think it's about doing, more with less, I guess. I think it would tendency with marketers, let's send more emails, let's send more ads, let's send more of everything, but this actually gives us this concept of giving that personalized thing. So it's about these wins that are really applicable to the business using machine learning techniques, and then you can get deeper and deeper and deeper, but it is about that incrementality.
Yeah, I wanted to add on that, and maybe in our case it's a little bit different because we don't have such a deep relationship with our customers because we sell through exhibitors. But the way we are thinking about data, and then the way I think more studios are going to think about data is data needs to be deeply coupled with your product. And I think that one of the things that we are going to see is we are going to see sort of a diversity of product strategies in our industry that are going to be successful. Not just one product strategy, but we're going to see a diversity, and then we're going to see some degree of specialization on the data side too, with some of our competitors mastering some uses of the data, but not others, simply because there are too many knobs that you can adjust from a data standpoint. And then I think we're going to see this deep coupling between the product strategy that you are putting in place and your data strategy, and you are going to be using your product strategy to create the platinum level data, which is the data that is very rare but extremely useful for decision making. This is not the data that you can buy in the marketplace. And then you're going to use that data to fit again into your product strategy. So that's sort of how we are thinking about it.
And as you go on this journey, starting with data consolidation and going all the way to machine learning, I know, Courtney, you also used machine learning as part of the NCAA campaign, and in that case, an agency was involved in helping you deliver the result that you got. And Courtney's being modest. The team actually won 2 Cannes Lion Awards for the campaign, so very proud of the work that's been done on that side. Congratulations. But talk to me a little bit about agencies. How can they be relevant in this world where the stakes of that chasm between brands who are using data and aren't is so high? Would love to hear your perspective on that.
Sure. I think the role of a creative agency is to kind of be on the forefront of what's happening. They challenge clients, that's who we are, to think differently. And I think that's the value you get of external agencies. 11 Inc., our creative partner on the NCAA, brought that to the table. We knew we wanted to delight with data. They pushed us into doing something that we knew was possible with the right engineers. So it was just a really amazing partnership. We all got in the car together, and we kind of had a map. We were sort of writing the map as we went, overcoming challenges left and right. And so many other agencies were involved with this too. If you think about putting an ad, if any of you in the audience have made television ads, you usually have to deliver it to the network, a couple weeks in advance, a week in advance at the latest. We were talking about making an ad in a trailer and putting it on air live. Our media agencies were really driving right alongside with us too, orchestrating with Turner Inc., who puts on the NCAA on TV. I think we ran a line underneath a train track outside the Alamo Dome in order to enable that real-time delivery. So I think it starts with a spark and a creative vision, and it's usually partnering with some world-class creative agencies to help you get there. But again, going back to what our core metric and opportunity was, which was to build awareness and start a conversation about Google Cloud, you align to that, you find the strategic spark, and you start driving. There's a lot of opportunity out there to start conversations about data.
Miguel, I know you have some thoughts on this topic of agencies.
So we work with a couple of agencies. Our case might be a little bit different because we cut a lot of the material that we use in advertisement. So we have our own creative teams. But we work intimately with agencies from a media planning and a media buying standpoint, especially in the in Facebook and Twitter and so on. And I think that one of the things that I've realized that it's that I've appreciated from the agencies is when you reach a point with an agency in which you cannot know as much as they do. So you are asking as many questions as they are asking. And I think that's a great place to be because it's a place where collaboration is very efficient and effective. So we've reached that point with our agencies simply because things are moving extremely fast and not a single party can know everything. And moving forward, I think that one of the things so this is related to what I was saying before, the complexity of bringing all this data is very high. It is very expensive from a labor standpoint, from a technology standpoint, and not all the data I think that not all the data that we're bringing in-house now is strategic for us. It might be valuable from a measurement standpoint or a media buying standpoint, but it might not be strategic to the core of our business. So I've been thinking about this, and I think that media agencies are going to have to step up their role, kind of being the ones that are bringing those elements of the data to the table. And I think that's going to be an area where the agencies are going to be able to provide a lot of value, because it's not sustainable for brands to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, it sounds like data is coming from a lot of different places, whether it's partnerships like the NCAA, agencies. Tim and Rich, you guys are in very data-rich environments in terms of what you have digitally on your customer behavior. So just want to pivot for a minute and ask you, and I know that there's a lot of people who want to ask questions, so we will have an open question Q&A time. But we heard from you all about how you're using data to optimize creative, better engage customers, whether that be on your site or in mobile applications. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you think the future of data and analytics and marketing holds, and what areas you're investing in today. And if you can give us a little bit of inspiration of where you're going, where would you like to see your organizations be a year from now?
Sure, I can start with that. I think it leans into this concept of moving away from a singular metric. I think that's been one of our greatest success as a marketing analytics organization, is giving the self-service of all the metrics that matter and how they tie together. We're not just looking for the lowest cost of customer, we're looking for that maximum return on ad spend, and we're giving the tools to do that. I've kind of been inspired in some of my sessions about using more text data, using more learning around that, like really listening to her, understanding sentiment analysis, understanding aspects of what she's saying, like looking at complex text strings and really deciding, hey, how can we actually use this data to not just think about the next marketing ad we can send out, but we can actually start weighing some programs that might cost incremental investment dollars and weigh those against campaigns, right? So are you fueling the fire at the top, or are you actually investing back into the customer? And now you have this tool where you have kind of this level playing field. So it's one of those, Zulily is already very, very data-centric. It's at the core of everything we do. But the text one has really been exciting me. I don't know your guys' thoughts on this.
I mean, for us, what I'm excited about investing in is our live experience. Trying to take what we've been able to accomplish in batch data and being able to process large quantities of data, but then starting to get into more of streaming data, taking it into the storytelling context and saying, how do I produce tools for the broadcast team to be able to understand how the audience is reacting to the story that's developing as it's happening. I think the live experience is a big area for us, where we're really trying to break a lot of the kind of standard expectations of commercial break patterns and production in a live broadcast environment, and starting to kind of take advantage of the fact that I've got users on the client side who are generating data that could be sent back into the truck and might affect the way in which they are telling the story as it unfolds. That's where we're kind of focusing our efforts right now going into 2019, and I'm pretty excited about it.
I think that for us, the two things that we're probably going to be spending a lot of time on over the next year are, so first, we've moved from this low-dimensional data world to a high-dimensional data world, just because we're bringing more data and we have tools that analyze that data in a much more complex way. So there is a steep learning curve for us, because I don't think we fully understand all the insights that we're getting now. We are certainly not acting on all the insights we're getting now. So that's one, and the other one is speed. And one thing that we're working on very actively is to try to compress the cycle between measurement and activation. And that cycle can be very long now, and we don't know how much we're going to be able to compress it, but I think it's super critical that we do that to be able to have campaigns that are more adaptive and that are more kind of looking forward in terms of where they want to land. And I think that's something that it's going to take us, it's going to be something that we're going to be focusing on over the next year.
So my answer will kind of come at this from a different angle. From Google, obviously being internal to Google and developing the cloud story, what I'm most excited about is continuing to push the envelope to get the brand conversation out there. That is what this brand stands for. All of you are here experiencing the brand of Google Cloud at Next, which we're incredibly proud of and grateful to have this opportunity to connect with you all. We look forward to the NCAA, but what we've developed as a brand level story around data is this concept of show, don't tell. So we don't want to just tell everyone what we do. We want to create experiences and kind of immerse people in what our products are about that is engaging and delightful and make people smile. So as you may have all heard yesterday, we announced a partnership with one of our customers, the New York Times. From a marketing perspective, we're working with them to tell the story of how they're digitizing their entire photo archive, which sits about 3 stories below their offices in New York City, below the subway. And I had the opportunity to be out there last week. So I had to do a little bit of a pre-production run-through of what they lovingly call the morgue, which constitutes about 6 to 8 million photos. They're actually not sure how many photos they have there, but it dates back to the late 1800s. So again, going back to what my responsibility is, my remit is to build brand love. And we want to do that with telling stories of, showing stories of what our customers are doing with their data that is truly transforming our world. So that's probably the thing I'm most excited about as we continue to look for other storytelling opportunities that becomes more about what our customers are doing to change the world. How can we tell that story in a way that helps tell our brand story?
Could I add one more point?
Yes.
Sorry, just circling back. I think about this concept of attention span is limited with the customers we're trying to reach. You have to be impactful on that moment you have with them. You have to give that personalized content. That's the future of everything at Zulily as a retailer, and we need the data to support us. So future of data analytics, I think that's it, is creating that one-for-one, like her experience, right, that we can give to her every day.